Hello, Kelly here with the video on homework and practice. We're going to talk about some of the overarching themes that connect the two and kind of the difference between the two, and then we'll look at some apps. This is the hardest one to narrow down any app to profile because there are so many content apps for practice, either in class or out of class. So first of all, let's define homework and practice. I grabbed these directly out of the book. So homework is opportunities for students to learn or review content outside of the regular school day, and then practice is specifically repeating a skill or reviewing small amounts of information in order to increase recall, speed, and accuracy. Think multiplication tables, vocabulary for foreign language, that kind of thing. Homework can be broader than practice. It can be pre-learning material to prepare for a future unit, or extending learning further. So that's kind of a difference between the two. Now, according to Classroom Instruction That Works, the messages in research around the effectiveness of this too have been mixed. And they didn't find many studies they can include according to their criteria for inclusion in the second edition. So they do talk about it, and they say that it can have some positive effects, but that you do have to be careful about some negatives as well. You have to be aware that homework, for example, can be effective for older students, but that it can also create a lot of problems with family time at home, and that it can be ineffective for younger students. So that teachers should really approach homework, particularly homework, with caution. Likewise, practice, even in class, is fraught with peril, I guess. If students do their practice incorrectly, well, then they may do the actual task incorrectly when it's time to perform. And some historically typical practice tasks, like reviewing notes or rereading chapters, are not really effective. Practice should involve active recall, like quizzes, flashcards, labeling. So there are obviously a ton of opportunities for using iPad with practice. So one of the overarching recommendations for both homework and practice activities that the book makes is that the teacher should be really clear on the purpose and the goal of the homework or the practice. It's very important for them to know why and to communicate it to the students and to the parents. We can also keep in mind that purposes should always be tied to academic learning. Homework and practice is never a punishment. Clear communication around homework and practice is a big theme in this chapter. First of all, there's a big section on developing a school or district-wide homework policy, and that's beyond probably the scope of our class, but it talks a lot about establishing what are appropriate time to be spent on homework, parental involvement, and then it also talks about how, for practice, it's important that kids know why they're doing it. They cite the example, which I'm sure we've all heard of, why practice our times tables if we can just do it on our calculator on our smartphone? And it talked about the teacher that then solved some problems with his own memorized knowledge compared to like trying to solve that big multiplication problem if he had to work out every single smaller times table type fact on his calculator as he went along. And that got the point across. But so the kids are really clear on why they're doing practice activities. Time is another big theme in the chapter. It talks about the recommendation that the first edition made of roughly 10 minutes of homework per grade level being a rough guideline you could use, and that there are certain times at which homework has diminishing returns according to age. Also, that for practice in-class activities, it should be short and focused and done frequently over time, but more frequently at the beginning of learning a new concept, but still going as we go along, still doing it at irregular intervals. And the last point that the book makes both about homework and practice is that they all require feedback from the teacher, and not in the form of just a grade, in the form of comments that help the student know, like we talked about in the setting objectives and providing feedback video, where they need to go and how to get there. And it's hard to hear this, but it was interesting that the book pointed out that if a teacher feels they don't have enough time to give feedback on all homework, that they need to rethink the homework they're giving. Now, I had a hard time with this because some iPad apps are going to give right, wrong feedback, and some are going to help students see where to go, and some are just going to kind of say, eh. And so you have to look at the feedback apps might be giving kids and decide if it's valuable feedback for their learning, if it's going to tell them why they're getting something right or wrong. Let's move into our app demos. There's thousands of kind of content practice apps, that some are better than others, so we won't go into those, but I did want to take a look at a flashcard app that I ran across that I thought was really quite good. So let's pause and we'll pick it up here in a second. We're back, and I wanted to take a look at the Bits board app. Here it is. It looks just like this. We'll go in. It's a flashcard app that allows you to put images, text, and audio, and then it makes the sets that you've set up or grabbed from a beautiful catalog actually into 5 different activities. Now, this may be suited to younger children or people who are beginners at a task, such as first-year language students learning a lot of vocabulary, or it comes to mind an ELL student who's new to country who needs to learn a lot of vocab. And what I like about the interface that you'll see is even though it may remind you of younger kids, it's appropriate for older people who maybe have cognitive delays but need tools that don't really look babyish. And so I like that about it a lot. So here we have a few boards set up. So I'm going to tap on one. I'm going to go into the Learn Spanish board. I have a special interest in that. So you can see that every set that you set up, it'll make 5 activities. Now, some I don't think are that great for practice, like the spelling one. But the photo touch is interesting, the reader, and the matchup. Let's look at the photo touch. So you heard that the sound comes through. That's a difference to some other flashcard apps. And I'll repeat the sound. Okay. So it gave us the word for to laugh. So we'll choose that. We got another one. I'm going to choose. Oh, I got it wrong. So it takes it away as a choice. You get the idea. And then I can switch to another game up here if I want. I can do the matchup game. I drag and drop. Jugar. Oh, must not have got it right. Great, so we can add a new board easily. All we have to do is tap on Add Board. We can choose from downloading from the catalog. It's not going to display right, but there's a lot of things already made. That's where I got the this money one from. They're really nice. Or you can create your own board. It's pretty straightforward to do that. Enter the board name. Oh, tried to type on my computer. Whoops. I see big applications for this because you can take your own pictures. So if you had students on the autism spectrum who needed to see actual people in their own life, this would be a fantastic tool for them. All right, we're going to look at a different app now for flashcards. I'll go out of here, called Flashboard. It's that other grid one. Much simpler, suitable for older students. You know, on both of these, kids can make their own decks, so that's an additional practice. This one, we'll tap on the A Few Places deck. It has some photos, and then when we tap and tap again, it'll reveal to us what the different places are. And you can also play a memory match game with that. So a little bit simpler. The sound element is not there, but for a student who doesn't need that, that works just fine. And then they can make their own. They can have all their study decks right with them as they go along. I would love, love, love to hear about some of your homework and practice activities that you're choosing in the discussion section, and see you over there.